In addition to the 7th squad in the school district, it seems that the 3rd squad also has no news. This in itself worries her, but it seems that this worry is superfluous. So why are you here? Lefiya half opened her eyes, looking at the human boy she found after arriving on the street from the hotel, the tattered combat uniform distributed by the school district, Bel Cranel. It seems that under the action of various motives, he pretended to be a student, and was with the 3rd squadron to act together. The rabbit man that passed through the lobby of the guild headquarters was actually Bel. It is said that the 3rd squad entered the dungeon before the 7th squad. Under the team's judgment, he reached the safe floor the first time and managed to survive. The reason he sneaked into the school area, without hesitation in disguise seemed to involve Baldur and the others, otherwise, Lefiya would have scolded the perverted scum, the enemy of humanity who is in the heat with the students and beaten up even death with a staff, but, I don't know if they went on an adventure before Lefiya and the others arrived. I saw the half-elf on the team with flushed cheeks, peeping at Bel from time to time. Seeing this scene, I was still very angry. Can you please not do anything to the juniors in the school district? You rabbit who has been in heat for thousands of years. What's an annual rabbit in Estrus? Right. After all, when we met in the guild, why did you scream when you saw me? It's so rude. Be careful, I'll burn you. I'm sorry. But is it because you're like that? Seeing the figure of a girl and a boy approaching and shouting loudly, the students were stunned from ear to ear. Especially Luke and Nano, who only knew Lefiya's mature side as a teacher, saw the current scene and didn't know how to react. At the same time, Tiona, who was watching the interaction between the two, said, "That's right, with Argo-kun here, it's good that Lefiya can cheer up." She said this, laughing loudly. Aze and Tioni were also infected by her and laughed loudly. Leon also squinted his eyes, looking at Lefiya and the others with age-appropriate expressions. After that, they rested on the hotel street for about a day as planned, and then escorted the 7th team and 3rd team back. Gareth and the Ganesha Familia, who stayed in the dungeon, fixed most of the routes, so they returned to the ground soon. So far, Lefiya and the others' long, little crusade has finally come to an end. Welcome back, Lefiya. After returning to the school district and finishing the report, Baldur smiled. Arisa hugged her tightly for some reason. So, the special training of the 7th team ended successfully, everything complete. This also means that Lefiya's teaching is over. When saying goodbye at the school district, everyone from the 7th squad cried and promised, "I will definitely join the Loki Familia." Nano hugged Lefiya tightly and cried, and Malilia also held her hand, tears streaming down her face. It's a bit exaggerated, she thought with a wry smile, but like the person who taught them, she felt something with mixed feelings. Cole was also infected and screamed, with tears in the corners of his eyes. He thanked her with a smile. Luke seemed to have something to say, but he still showed a cold expression. "I need to catch up to her. I want to become a more powerful adventurer than you. I'm waiting for you. However, I won't lose." Lefiya laughed and cheered for him. Then, Lefiya returned to Loki Familia. She looked up at the blue sky. After losing something important, what she should have seen when she looked up was the same sky, but now she felt that the sky had become brighter and Lefiya didn't know why. It's just that she has the feeling that, like the cold but clear sky, the things that settled in her heart have disappeared. She's finally back. You shouldn't have lost your abilities, right? Bate appeared and walked towards Lefiya, who was waiting for him in the base courtyard. Starting today, training begins again. In actual combat with him, she cultivated her movements like a magic swordsman. However, the anxiety I had before teaching was gone. Lefiya showed an expression that was no longer tense, but not relaxed, but as if the possessed object disappeared. Bet came to her, stopped and snorted. Changed back. Actually, I don't care which side you choose. Anyway, no matter which side you choose, you will regret it. So I just need to beat you to the ground so that you don't cry annoyingly. Beth must understand. Know the danger of Lefiya. After realizing, he still chose to exercise with Lefiya. As he just said, so that she gains strength so as not to lose other things. Finally, I know why Loki sent himself to the school district. This is a journey that transformed Lefiya into Lefiya Virides. Think about your own deviation. Thinking of this, Lefiya suddenly thought of something and asked. Did Mr. Bet become strong after losing someone? This is a pure question. Lefiya didn't know what kind of background the werewolf in front of her had. Did he also walk the same path as her? Upon hearing this question, Bet was silent for a moment and then laughed. There is a fart relationship. I am me, and it doesn't matter who burps. Must be like this. Then there will be more and more scars on her body. Perhaps because he felt uncomfortable with Lefiya's transparent gaze, Bet still laughed and hurled offensive words. That insidious elf is really miserable. The rest of you are crazy, wandering here and there. Even though that woman is really irritating, this is the only thing that deserves my sympathy. Merciless insult. Lefiya raised her eyebrows. After the eyebrows were raised, they immediately softened and the dark blue eyes quickly filled with tears. Bet's eyes turned into comical black dots at the gesture. Why do you make things difficult for me? Stupid, I mean, shouldn't you call me back? Lefiya continued wiping the corners of her eyes and began to cry, completely disconcerting Bet. From the side, he was simply a child who made a girl cry. Many things happened before, and Lefiya was overcome by the idea of wanting to change, and she couldn't really wallow in sadness. Instead, she cried a lot. After the school district incident, she no longer needed to be brave in a positive sense, and her tightly bound armor loosened. Then, the wolf threw an unscrupulous punch, completely destroying the armor, and the emotions in her heart inadvertently leaked out. Beth panicked. Because she had completed the transformation, she thought she had great potential to provoke, but it turned out to be that kind of virtue. If Gareth had been here, he would have sighed and said to him, "Didn't everyone tell you to stop being so weird?" It was embarrassing to see Lefiya sobbing softly. Presumably Bet was incoherent after throwing her up beautifully, and he was less likely to hug her tightly or pat her on the head. "Mr. Bet, you idiot. Why are you so weak? To be able to say such things." Lefiya, who let out a groan, raised her head, with tears in her eyes, looked at Bet with a strange expression, and said, "Don't make you cry, Lefiya, you stupid wolf. Lefiya, it's really better not to exercise with this fucking wolf. He doesn't understand anything about women, he's no different from a beast." The werewolf's body without looking at her. As before, they watched in the air corridor and ran as soon as they heard the sound of whining. Ace also stroked Lefiya's head, comforting her. "What are you kidding? You don't look like a terrible beast. Mr. Bet, the worst." Bet stood up immediately, but Ace gave her a seriously sub-zero cold look, and received the biggest shock this time. The werewolf's body was bent, and his knees hurt. Tiona and the others didn't throw a punch this time, but cast their eyes as if looking at the scum. At this moment, Lefiya. He finished. Watched by the stunned guards, Lefiya escaped. The reason is simple. She didn't want to be seen with her face red and swollen from crying. No more. It's rare for me to think I've become a trustworthy elf. However, nothing has changed. Nothing changed. Crying baby Lefiya is back. Miserable, ashamed and nostalgic, Lefiya threw her arms across the street. As she ran, she turned into a gust of wind, so fast that the passers-by on the road were startled, and then she made an expression of not understanding the situation. She wiped the corners of her eyes again and again. There is no destination to go to. She kept running. Running, she arrived at a familiar high platform. If you make an appointment with someone to see the crown of light, even visiting this place will be painful. Until now it has been like this. Miss Filvis, you idiot. The crown of light. While no one was around, she closed her eyes tightly and screamed loudly at the blue sky above her head. This is undoubtedly the dissatisfaction accumulated by Lefiya behind the sad events. Of course I know you had a very painful experience. But it would be good to discuss it with me a little. In that case, something might change. The expression is so worrying. I care about you so much. But you are very pretty and cute when you smile. How can I ignore you like this? This is the typical example of being played by scoundrels that Loki said. Miss Filvis is the worst. What a disappointment. I lied, but I actually like you more. But Miss Filvis still followed Godsama Dash. Compared to women's friendship, I should choose a man. Enlightened gradually turned into unreasonable complaints, but these were indeed words she had wanted to say for a long time, and now she has vented them all. Miss Filvis. Miss Filvis. I like you. I love you more. No matter how much time has passed, I will never forget you. I will never forget you. If Filvis was listening from the other side of the sky, I really hope she panics and doesn't know what to do. In this mischievous mood, Lefiya screamed and conveyed her thoughts. Pass on what you always wanted to say. Wait until the scattered tears dry. Lefiya, who was panting, smiled slowly. She looked up at the clear blue sky and said, "Then. I'll move on. To never be the same again." If she changed back, she wouldn't be able to forgive herself. She originally thought so, but for some reason, now she felt very happy in her heart. The crybaby, Lefiya, has graduated and transformed into an inspiring elf, but she still sheds tears somewhere. This process has been repeated ever since, gradually becoming a stronger self than anyone else. Missing something important, however, Lefiya raised her head and found this common answer. Although Mr. Bet also told me about myself, but, just lend me Miss Filvis' sword and staff. After all, you have lied to me so many times, so this kind of thing shouldn't be a big deal, right? She asked with a smile, and then the sky rang the sound of wind. The heart is clear, like a clear fountain reflecting the blue sky. It's winter now. This cold breeze should also bring the same white snow as her, dotted with aurora, and at the same time bring some changes in Lefiya's heart. By then, will there be more juniors? So, Lefiya must become stronger. Always together. After all, you said so. As long as you close your eyes, you can feel someone's breathing in agreement. She reached out and placed her hand on his warm shoulder. The girl who could no longer transform into anyone held the sheathed dagger to her chest and smiled brightly.